Tyrone snaps at Carl, Nina worries about Roy, and Betsy battles for Swarla. Next week on Coronation Street, the turmoil continues as Jodie Ramsey, Olivia Frances Brown, the estranged sister of Shona Platt, Julia Goulding, leaves her imprint on Weatherfield. While Kit Green, Jacob Roberts, reveals the situation he discovered her in on the night of the multi-vehicle pileup, she seems determined to drag her sibling through the muck. While Eva Price, Catherine Tildesley, and Maggie Driscoll, Pauline McLynn, are at odds over the possible sale of Maggie's Rovers stake, Ben Driscoll, Aaron McCusker, becomes ill and is hurried directly into his groomer, Megan Walsh, Beth Nixon, and son Will, Lucas Hodgson Whale. Anita is shown in Married at First Sight UK, but is she pleased with her match? In other scenes, Carl Webster, Jonathan Howard, must contend with Tyrone Dobbs, Alan Housel's rage, while Swarla may have hope owing to the late Haley Cropper. This is what's going on in Coronation Street from Monday, January 19th to Friday, January 23rd, 2026. When Leanne indicates that she would like to purchase Maggie out of the bar, Eva pretends to be astonished, but the mother-in-law from hell quickly realizes what's happening. When Leanne offers £160,000 for her share, the women start arguing, and Maggie trips over Leanne's luggage and collapses. They don't know that Ben is starting to feel sick when getting the delivery of beer. His heart palpitates as he grips his chest in agony. Will, meantime, questions whether Megan is sick after learning that she would be gone for a while. Unaware that his father is traveling to the hospital as well, they are in A&E. Eva and Maggie declare a ceasefire for Ben's health while he heals, while Will begs Megan to break up with Daniel since he finds it painful to see them together. He apologizes for coming on too strong, which makes her feel better as they proceed to supper. But Mrs. Crawshaw is shocked when he proposes that she report the kid for harassment. Why is Oscar Aldersley's character Lee pursuing Megan? Lee, one of Will's former running partners from Hall, shows up in Weatherfield later that week. After taking Megan's call, he invites her to meet him in the Ginnel. When Jodie is finally by herself with Shona, she makes the decision to confront her sister for leaving her with their terrible parents. She starts to pour poison into Lily's ear about their history, obviously on a mission to destroy Shona's reputation. When the siblings go to Roy's Rolls for a brekkie the following day, Jodie is frightened by Kit and flees. Naturally curious, Shona turns to the policeman for answers when Jodie is unable to provide any. He recounts that after the car accident, they reunited in the woods close to Kennelton, where he discovered her wrists tied with wire ties. He thought she was attempting to get away from someone. Jodie, meantime, visits a support group for victims of domestic abuse and pays close attention to a fellow participant's account of the abuse she endured at the hands of her boyfriend. She starts having a tantrum when she gets back to number 8, and Bethany notifies David and Shona of her actions. Later, Jodie shares a flirting moment with Carl and offers to help out at the cafe while Nina is away. While at the hospital, Shona tells David that she's looking for their father so she can figure out what happened, but Abby cautions her against it. Roy starts writing Alice another letter in the midst of his pen pal mystery. He is highly irritated when Nina makes fun of him by suggesting that it might be time to advance their relationship.
The two start talking about Alice's sincerity and how improbable it is that she is a catfisher. Is she really all that she appears to be? In a last-ditch effort to restore her family dynamic, Betsy acts as a matchmaker and attempts to get Carla and Lisa back together. In a contemplative mood, Roy informs Lisa that he intends to visit the boating lake where he dispersed Haley's ashes on this anniversary of her passing. After their talk, he tells Carla that Haley would want her to be happy, therefore she should reconcile with her ex-fiancé. She points out that their dead loved one would want him to be content as well. When Ryan gives Carla a note from Lisa asking her to lunch at the bistro the next day, Carla is taken aback. While eating lunch at the hotel with a client, she switches off her phone since she can't help but text her back. After being ignored, Lisa becomes enraged and storms inside the restaurant, causing a big commotion before drowning her grief in the bar. She had obviously forgotten her outburst when she awakens with a hangover. When Sally stops by at number 6 to deliver Carla some post, she starts talking about her marital problems. She calls Tim to take his wife home since she is overwhelmed and frustrated by her own circumstances. After the recent occurrences, Kevin is quite distressed and looks at a picture of himself and Debbie when they were happier. Tyrone notices him trashing his living room out of fury. Ty rushes to the streetcar's flat to face Carl because he can't believe how much damage he has caused. He demands the truth while pinning Carl against the wall with his crutch. The British soap opera, which operates with a relentless, decades-long continuity that makes the MCU appear fleeting, has always piqued the interest of American viewers. It is a faster-paced, gritty cousin to the daytime dramas of the 1980s. The most recent Coronation Street spoilers, which describe a week of high-stakes medical drama, familial animosity, pub conflicts, and the ghosts of cherished characters, may seem like localized mayhem. However, to ignore it would be to completely miss the point. The complex web that includes Kit Green, Jacob Roberts, Shona Platt, Julia Goulding, Jodie Ramsey, Olivia Francis Brown, the conflicting groups of the Rover's return, and the moving legacy of Haley Cropper symbolizes something significant: the transformation of the serialized drama into a contemporary, communal novel. The American television industry has mostly shunned this kind of narrative in its quest for prestige and limited series, but it secretly longs for it. This is a decoder ring for the richest, most intricate narrative environment on television, not just a news update. Let's examine the key elements of this Weatherfield week to see why Betsy's struggles, Nina's anxieties, and Tyrone Dobbs' Alan Halsall have an impact that extends well beyond the Manchester cobbles. The toxic reunion of sisters Shona Platt and Jodie Ramsey is the main source of stress this week. Olivia Francis Brown and Julia Goulding are having a masterclass in subtext. Goulding Shona is a woman who has laboriously constructed a life, a blended family, a spouse in David Platt, Jack P. Shepard, and hard-won stability on the precarious foundation of her own horrific history: violence, forgetfulness. A flurry of accusations and obvious fear greets Brown's Jodie. Her goal to drag her sibling through the mud is the outburst of a repressed narrative rather than just malicious
more
intent.
than just cause friction with Lily when she confronts Shona for leaving her to awful parents. She is using the fundamental tragedy of their shared upbringing, a narrative that Shona may have willfully or physically forgotten, as a weapon. This is top-notch psychological horror set in a typical Weatherfield cafe. Brown portrays Jodie with a wary, avian-like awareness. Frightened by Kit Green, Jacob Roberts' appearance, she runs away and then breaks down in private. The key hint is that Jodie attends a support group for victims of domestic abuse. She is not only an adversary, but a victim, perhaps fleeing the same Graham Foster, Andrew Scarborough, who shackled her wrists. Her hate for Shona might be misguided fear. The turning point is Kit Green's revelation to Shona. The story's truth-teller is Jacob Roberts, who embodies composed, formal politeness. Jodie is transformed from a resentful sibling into a possible key to Shona's own enigmatic past by his story of discovering her chained in the woods. The cultish weaving light mythos alluded to by their matching tattoo may be directly related to the awful parents Jodie refers to. This plot works because it recognizes that the most terrible ghosts are familial, the live, breathing secrets that enter your home, rather than ghostly. The expansive Shakespearean struggle for the Rover's return in soul goes parallel to this personal family tragedy. Though its themes are generically capitalist, this is Coronation Street at its most distinctively British. Maggie Driscoll, Pauline McLynn, and Eva Price, Catherine Tildesley, are more than just quarreling in-laws. They are symbols of opposing ideals: feeling versus spreadsheet, legacy versus liquidity. The modernizing drive is represented by Tildesley's Eva, who has sharp edges and sharper commercial acumen. Under the cover of a pub negotiation, her partnership with Leanne Battersby to buy out Maggie is a cold corporate takeover ploy. Maggie, played by McLynn, is the obstinate defender of tradition, and her fall over Leanne's luggage serves as a fitting physical metaphor for getting tripped up by the negligence of the modern world. But the weak human body instantly humbles their battle. The show's ageless reminder that all plots are subordinate to the body's revolt is Ben Driscoll, Aaron McCusker, gripping his chest, his heart palpitations piercing through the financial clamor. Ben's request for a ceasefire is a lovely example of kindness that has been earned. The intense modern storyline involving Will Driscoll, Lucas Hodgson Whale, and Megan Walsh, Beth Nixon, is expertly integrated with this medical emergency. Here, Coronation Street addresses the complex issues of teenage relationships, grooming, and agency in the 21st century. Nixon's portrayal of Megan is nuanced. She is both touched by Daniel Osborne's apologies and taken aback by his promise to report Will for harassment. A hint of dark, unknown history is introduced with the entrance of Lee, a character from Will's past in Hull. This is a complex examination of power, loneliness, and the hazy boundaries between possession and protection in the digital era, rather than a straightforward stranger danger story. It is no coincidence that Ben's ambulance, Will's anguish, and Megan's predicament all lead to the hospital. Weatherfield's best equalizer is the memories of a deceased character to cure the living in the middle of the mayhem, which is its most subtle enchantment. In the current era of the program, Julie Hesmondall's portrayal of the late Haley Cropper is still arguably the most cherished character.
Her mention is never informal. The community's moral compass is Roy Cropper, David Nielsen, who reflects on the anniversary of her death in a delightfully uncomfortable and deeply affected way. Roy's intention to go to the boating lake represents a silent, deep loss. His later counsel to Carla Connor, Allison King, that Haley would want her to be content is a brilliant plot device. It repairs a current fracture by using the weight of heritage. Carla, a stronghold of resiliency played by Allison King, is particularly susceptible to this criticism. She looked up to Haley as a friend, confidant, and role model. The clumsy, human stages towards reconciliation, such as Lisa Swain's letter, the ruined lunch at the bistro, and Lisa's inebriated outburst, are all directed by Haley's unseen hand. By encouraging Carla to pursue love, Roy is also gently reprimanded to think about his own happiness, which is connected to the mystery of his pen friend Alice. Is she everything that she seems to be? Hanging over him, a unique hint of love potential for this lonely man. Betsy has an innate understanding of this emotional calculation in her frantic matchmaking. She is instinctively calling upon the community's collective memory of love as a healing power, rather than only attempting to reunite with her family. She is serving the same purpose as Roy in her own adolescent manner, utilizing the past to preserve the present. At last we reach Tyrone Dobbs' unadulterated bodily catharsis. From a humorous mechanic's apprentice, Alan Househall's Tyrone has developed into the show's main character. His anger at Carl Webster, Jonathan Howard, is the result of a community's simmering resentment rather than a random act of violence. Tyrone has witnessed the resurgence of his sadness for Debbie and the destruction of his mentor, Kevin Webster, Michael Lavelle, due to Carl's deception. Tyrone is acting as Weatherfield's id when he pushes Carl against the wall with his crutch, a representation of his own previous weaknesses. In a world that frequently allows cunning operators like Carl to get away with it, he is calling for responsibility. This meeting is really enjoyable because Jonathan Howard portrays Carl with the perfect amount of smarmy defiance. Because it is earned by months of psychological harm witnessed by a character the viewer naturally trusts, this traditional soap opera cliché of the righteous confrontation is delivered flawlessly. We own Tyrone's rage. Coronation Street presents a radical alternative, the never-ending story, to an American audience used to season arcs and series endings. In just 1 week, it smoothly combines a thriller about psychology, Jodie, Shona, a family/business drama, Eva, Maggie, Ben, a contemporary social issue narrative, Will, Megan, and Lee, a spiritual legacy-driven relationship, Carla, Lisa, Roy, Haley, a thriller of cathartic retribution, Tyrone, Carl, Olivia Frances Brown, Julia Goulding, Jacob Roberts, Catherine Teitelsdell, Pauline McClin, Aaron McCusker, Lucas Hodgson Whale, Beth Nixon, Oscar Eldersley, Allison King, Vicky Myers, David Nielsen, Alan Househall, and Jonathan Howard are among the performers that make an unmatched repertory group. They travel between different genres as long-term inhabitants of a common world, rather than as guest stars.
This is the superpower of the show. We divide apart our genres in America. One show is a thriller, another is a medical drama, and a third is a family narrative. Life is not segmented, according to Coronation Street. When you argue about money, you have a heart attack. While you're pouring coffee, a sister's trauma comes back. While your companion gets wasted in a restaurant, you are guided by the recollection of a past love. In a garage, a guy becomes enraged because he can no longer stand to see his friends suffer. Every character on Coronation Street, from the enigmatic Jodie Ramsey to the hangdog Roy Cropper, has a significant past and an unwritten future, making it a living novel to watch. It is simultaneously chaotic, emotional, ridiculous, and profoundly true. Weatherfield provides a unique anchor for American listeners who feel lost in an era of algorithmic content and disposable stories. It is a place where stories never really end, only change, serving as a reminder that every thread, every Betsy, every Nina, every Tyrone, is vital to the community's overall fabric. The story of Jodie Ramsey, Olivia Frances Brown, the Rovers' conflict, and Tyrone Dobbs' fury, Alan Househall, is more than just a soap opera waiting to be revealed. It is the most recent data point in the longest-running real-time mythology experiment in human history. Coronation Street is not a program about a location. Rather, it creates a place with the psychological and historical richness of a real-world town through a process of narrative accumulation over 6 decades. The storyline is an emergent feature of the characters' cumulative histories, not a function of the characters.
Think about the present point of contention, Coronation Street, number 8. Inside its boundaries, we have the entirety of David Platt, Jack P. Shepard's life story, from kid victim to adolescent fear to adult bereaved father, is ingrained in the program. Shona Platt, Julia Goulding, a walking reminder of past pain, is now faced with Jodie, a real example of that trauma. Jodie Ramsey is a mysterious text that comes from the show's own uncharted past. Her entire existence is a retcon that seems more like an archaeological find than a writer's convenience. This is really significant. Jodie's reveal feels mined rather than manufactured. The authors are not starting from nothing. Rather, they are searching through Shona's well-established emotional archaeology, her resiliency, her amnesia, and finding a hole shaped like a sister. Olivia Frances Brown is portraying an existing absence rather than a brand new persona. This is the mythology engine at work. The past is neither past nor dead. It just has to be portrayed by an actor. In a similar vein, Roy Cropper, David Nielsen's Trips for Haley and his pen pal mystery with Alice are not distinct narratives. They are two manifestations of Roy's central ontological dilemma, which is his search for genuine connection in a confusingly performative world. His distrust of Alice is the opposite of his love for Haley. The former stands for the dread of fake feeling, while the latter is the model for genuine, unadulterated feeling. Haley, the show's own past, serves as a moral yardstick for evaluating
Coronation Street from an American perspective reveals an intriguing phenomenon. It absorbs and recontextualizes American genre cliches in retrospect, showing them as broken pieces of the whole. A season of True Detective or The Undoing, the Prestige limited series, the Jodie, Shona, Kit Green, Jacob Roberts mystery has cultish overtones, compelling cable links, and horrific memories. However, Weatherfield doesn't end in 8 episodes. The school run, the cafe shift, and the school run are all impacted. Everyday living dilutes the excitement, making it more horrifyingly ordinary. The corporate drama. The struggle for the Rovers between Maggie Driscoll, Pauline McLynn, Leanne Battersby, and Eva Price, Catherine Tildesley, is a succession with pints and less private equity. Although The Crown is a pub rather than a media empire, the stakes are similar in terms of power, legacy, and familial animosity. The health scare of the patriarch cliché is distilled into a single powerful week in Aaron McCusker's Ben Driscoll's heart attack. The Netflix yaw thriller, the teen thriller. The Will Lucas Hodgson Whale, Megan, Beth Nixon, Daniel Lee, Oscar Aldersley, Quadrant, is about poisonous relationships, social media, and grooming. Its intensity and tempo are the same, but it becomes more poignant when it takes place in the midst of Sally Metcalf's marital problems and Kevin Webster's midlife crisis. It makes the case that middle-aged and young hearts break in echoing, comparable ways. The revenge thriller, Tyrone Dobbs's encounter with Jonathan Howard's character Carl Webster, is an unadulterated, cathartic instance of vigilante retribution right out of a thriller. However, it is driven by a shattered buddy, Kevin, rather than a deceased wife, making it more about group loyalty than personal retaliation. These genres are transmitted through the performers. The criminal strand's dependable procedural lead is Jacob Roberts. The cunning, astute characters of the business drama are Pauline McLynn and Catherine Tildesley. The teen saga's vulnerable leads are Lucas Hodgson Whale and Beth Nixon. The vengeance plot's action hero is Alan Housel. David Nielsen, Olivia Frances Brown, and Julia Goulding are the psychological family mystery's troubled spirits. They are all playing in their respective genre series at the same time, yet they are all somehow part of the same series. The analysis becomes transcendent at this point. A unique phenomenon is created by Coronation Street's longevity. The actor's real-life tenure is incorporated into the character's texture. Since he was a little boy, Jack P. Shepard has portrayed David Platt. The audience has seen how the actor's maturity has permeated the role. Shepard and Platt are now a symbiotic creature, a record of a person aging in fictitious real time, and there is no longer a distinct boundary between them. Apply this to the newcomers now. As Jodie Ramsey, Olivia Frances Brown joins this area as a possible new permanent thread rather than as a guest star. The metatextual knowledge that she is being weaved into a 60-year-old tapestry permeates her performance. Every suspicious gaze from Shona is more than just Julia Goulding's acting. It's the character of Shona, a creature whose past has been chronicled since 2016, responding to a new factor. New performers are drawn to the street's reality and must conform to its established emotional mechanics.
Is in the same situation as Megan. She is engaging with Daniel Osborne, a character who has a long past as a teacher, an acid attack victim, and a bereaved parent, in addition to portraying a young lady in a complicated relationship. His gravitational mass adds weight to her story. The American obsession is developing because of this. Engaging with Coronation Street is akin to being a cultural archaeologist in a time of throwaway material. It provides the ultimate slow TV. You are seeing the social development of a micro-society, not only reading fiction. Betsy's involvement as a matchmaker for Lisa Swain, Vicky Myers, and Carla Connor, Allison King, is an investigation into the function of children in the restoration of post-traumatic families. Nina Lucas's concern for Roy is an example of chosen family and non-blood intergenerational care. The whole Will-Megan storyline is a live ethnographic investigation of digital intimacy, anxiety, and communication among Generation Z. The program offers an alternative to the American narrative paradigm. Coronation Street asks, what is the consequence? Whereas the U.S. system asks, what is the concept? The car collision, the sister's homecoming, and the heart attack are the concepts. The true narrative is the fallout, which took place over several months in living rooms, bars, and cafes. Coronation Street is the magnificent, chaotic anti-algorithm in a world when streaming algorithms suggest material based on a single genre or a well-known celebrity. It is not classifiable. It's all at once. It requires investment in a location rather than a land. Brown, Golding, Roberts, Tildesley, McLinn, McCusker, Hodgson-Wale, Nixon, Eldersley, King, Myers, Nielsen, Househall, Howard, and Shepard are not only a cast list, they are now in charge of a live, continuing novel. The most recent chapter titles are their characters: Jodie, Shona, Kit, Eva, Maggie, Ben, Will, Megan, Lee, Carla, Lisa, Roy, Tyrone, Carl, and David. The invitation is to tune in, not to catch up for the American listener. Choose a thread: the sorrowful Roy Cropper, the business-minded Eva Price, or the enigmatic, injured Jodie Ramsey. Adhere to it. It will unavoidably be entwined with every other one, a single colorful thread in Weatherfield's enormous, intricate tapestry. It's not a show you're viewing. You are seeing a world in constant, fascinating, and deeply human motion. Because life never ends, the drama never ends, and its ongoing transatlantic impact is found in that straightforward, revolutionary reality.